Okay, so tree number one is the Hallmark tree. This one's probably 75% Hallmarks, and the rest are Santas. Every kind you can imagine, you know, marionette, biplane, Goodyear blimp, hang gliding, bazillions of Santas, probably about 500 different Santas on there. And then the rest are Hallmarks. A lot of them are motion, which I'm obsessed with. And then there's tons and tons and tons that light up. They hook up to the lights on your tree. There's a lot of motion ones on here too. And like a crazy person, I keep adding more and more of them every year. I don't know if you can tell in the video, but the ornaments go all the way into the center. I would assume I'm getting close to 1,000 on this tree now. So that's that one. That one spins. I do have a stuffed Bumble in the corner because that's the name of my dog. My sister gave me that chimney hat, which is hilarious. This stuff I collect also. So that's vintage Lefton, the Holly and Ivy stuff. And then these Santas are by Howard Holt. This is a couple different kinds of Howard Holt pieces. And that's Dorothy Thorpe glass, which is like from the Mad Men era. This is the formal living room, the bird. Most of the furniture in here is blue and mirrored. Blah, blah, blah. In the dining room is the white tree. I made this one for my mom probably back in middle school, and it just evolved over the years. I'm not a big fan of gold, but that's why I did it. I wanted to step outside my box and my comfort zone. So this one's a flock tree with gold accents. There's little bits of mauve on it. This also has ornaments from my late Grandma June. So, for example, that ornament with the roses was mine, and this one was hers. So you can see we coincidentally had the same ornaments, which normally makes me cry when I put it up. So that's the white and gold one. Also, dining room, new saltwater tank. This is a skinny tree I started doing probably 5 years ago. It's all pixies from like the 40s, 50s, and 60s. They were called knee huggers because most of them hug their knees. I was always kind of obsessed with them. Very kitschy, super fun. So one year I went crazy buying them on eBay, and I did a whole tree full of them. There's even little knee hugger pixie lights. I love these guys with the stuff coming out of their hats. That's the pixie tree. This is the ceramic tray I put in Facebook about a month ago. I made this one in my ceramic studio in Chicago. It's actually got real 18 karat gold on it, which was quite a process to do, but I love how it turned out. This is messy kitchen. Teardrops on the lights. I just bought this gnome this year. I'm totally into gnomes for holiday, and I think that's a trend we're going to see for quite a while to come. I also love this little vintage tea set that looks like reindeer. And then the bookcases are full of vintage cameras and a little holiday trim. And then in the sunroom, I have two skinny trees and then the tinsel aluminum tree, which is a real authentic one from the 50s, and all the ornaments are from the 50s also, maybe a few from the 60s. So in that time period when people were doing aluminum trees, there was two major brands, Jewel Bright and Shiny Bright. I'll show you Shiny Bright a little later. That's mercury glass. Jewel Bright was all plastic, and for those of you that were alive then, you'll certainly remember them because they had all the really fun kitschy dioramas and stuff inside of them. angels and snowmen and Santas and religious figures. These ones that spin with the heat of the lights called twinklers. I am in love with this stuff. And this tree is riddled with these things. And as you can see, each branch has like maybe 5 ornaments deep. So there's tons. And back then, most people didn't put lights on trees, definitely not on aluminum trees. So they used the color wheel. And this is legit from the 50s also. It's in such gorgeous shape. So that's kind of fun that you don't have to put lights on it and it changes color all the time. Also, a few years ago, I went through a phase where I was buying these plastic churches just because I thought they were cool. So those are the 5 that I have so far. I haven't been buying them in a while. There aren't really very many more than this. Those were kind of fun. I never know where to put them. And then in the family room is where the fireplace is. And I'm in love with that vintage light up Santa. He's so cool. This tree, I don't normally decorate too much, but I have the elf legs sticking out of it with the elf head on the other end, which I think is kind of funny. I normally don't do stuff that hokey, but this tree has what's called Decor Dream Pets. Decor Dream Pets are these reindeer, and they made a million different animals also. Believe it or not, Big Lots bought the company years ago and then did absolutely nothing with it. So these all came from mostly the 40s, 50s. They're so cool. Some are fabric. They're all filled with sawdust, which is so interesting. They have wire in them. And some of them, like this guy here and that guy there, are actually made out of leather and patent leather, which I think is amazing. Some of them are really cute, and then some of them have all kinds of attitude, and some of them stick out their tongues. So this year, so people could see them at the holiday party, I did a tree out of them. So that's that. Also, for the first time this year, I put up a bunch of vinyl records on the wall because I could never figure out what kind of art was big enough for this wall. So about half of these are regular records that I think are neat, like Star Wars and Eurythmics and Chicago, you know, you name it. And then there's a bunch of cool Christmas stuff mixed in there too. So that's fun. These guys are made by Royalite. I always loved them too. They came in that version, and then a version where they hold a bubble light in their hand or a tree in their hand. This is one of the only religious things I have in the house other than the churches, just because I love the peanuts so much. So I bought the manger a year or 2 ago and put the peanuts in it. And I have Lucy as an angel that will hang up at the top. It's coming in the mail from eBay soon. Another one of the gnomes that I'm in love with. And then in the guest room, which is where my mom stays when she comes for Christmas, I have this stick tree that I got from Z Gallery a couple years ago that I lightly decorate and kind of keep it fun and modern. So that's the guest room. There is yet another gnome and a ceramic tree. I have these little vintage dudes that light up that are fun. Kermit wreath. Some more light up teardrops. And then in my office, I did the pink tree. I haven't put this up in about 3 years. I hate the way this comes out on cell phones. I can never get a good picture of it. It's 1,000 times prettier in person. It always looks kind of odd and orange. The camera tries to color correct. So I told you that I would mention Shiny Bright later. Shiny Bright is mercury glass, also made in the 50s. So you probably remember these if you're older than me or around my age with the indents on them. Or the cool stenciled ones with the snowflakes. You probably broke a million of them. So that is all mercury glass. This whole tree is authentic mercury glass, all from the 50s. And then I put big C7 lights on it, which are night light size bulbs, and some of them blink. I normally would never even consider blinking bulbs, but I think it's perfect on this tree. And then I cheated and put some 1980s little flower lights, if you guys remember those. If you stepped on them, they hurt so bad back in the day, just because I think that adds a little bit of girly. So this was the white and gold tree a million years ago, and it started to get a little, I don't know, faded, I guess. And I decided to paint the edges of it pink, which you can't even really tell in this light, but the edges of it are painted pink. And these lights that look kind of gold in the camera are not gold. They're very pink in person. It's just color correcting. I also have these fun inflatable reindeer, which I think is kind of fun and kitschy, that goes with this tree. So that's the pink tree. And then for the millennium, back in the day, I did a blue tree, which is this one. So my late grandmother gave me a tree because she replaced hers, and I called my mom in Indiana on her way to Chicago and said, can you stop at Michael's and get some blue lights and anything that's blue and silver? And all they really had was some fake blue or silver eucalyptus, which is still on there. It's all over the place right there. And then years and years later, probably 10 years later, I added blue bubble lights because I'm obsessed with bubble lights. And then I added these big guys. I got these reflectors this year from Michael's behind the lights, which are so fun. There's bubble lights all over the place. And it's just evolved over the years. I added the two different crazy toppers that are really fun, the angel and the blinky guy, and the kind of Sputnik stuff. There's a bunch of different size lights on this one, plus the little regular ones. It's got all this silver beaded stuff that drips all over it. So this one's kind of Liberace, messy in a good way. It's way more me than most of the other things that I've done, which is why it's in my bedroom. And then the rest of the bedroom is done in silver. And the door, and this cool shelf, which has more of the vintage cameras that I collect. And then outside, which is pretty cool if you ask me, you can see the tinsel tree turning and the room changing colors, which is pretty fun, and the skinny trees. I have lights along the perimeter, a Happy Holidays, Merry Christmas wreath, another tree with a Santa. There's lights along the roof line. I normally don't do the gemmy blow-up things, but I dig Frosty, and my mom bought me that for Christmas, so it's on the back of the house because it doesn't match the stuff on the front. And then we'll go to the front. So this is the outside of the house. That's the pixie tree and the white and gold tree. Palm trees are uplit all year. There's 13 of them on my lot. I have 2 of the animated deer. They move really slowly. And the cone tree I got last year. And there's lights on the roof line. I added that star last year. And then this year for Halloween I added the video, which I had in the white tree window for Halloween. And this year it's in this window, and I change the video every day or two. Right now it's like cardinals and a snowman. Next week it's gonna be Santa Claus. So that's the front from here. And then the picture window from the formal living room is where the star is at. And that's where the big Hallmark tree is, which if you stand still you can tell is spinning, which is kind of cool. And that's most of it without making the video more than 15 minutes. Happy holidays, everybody.